thought I'd just go for a walk because my head is feeling really full right now, and I've realised why I've felt quite different to everybody else for the last God knows how many years. I'm not going to say what my age is because I don't like to share that, but I now realise why I felt so different, and it's because I've just been recently diagnosed as ADHD. So I thought I'd share a few things about how I'm feeling, how it's affecting me now, how it goes back to how I felt as a child or teenager or woman in my 20s, and just share a few things. So if you ask me how I feel about being diagnosed as ADHD, I'm not really sure. It's really weird. I haven't had much time to spare to kind of really look into how I was as a child, how I was as a 20, 30-year-old, as opposed to how I am now, knowing that I'm ADHD. And it's funny because I never questioned, could I be neurodiverse? It just wasn't a thing back in the day. Didn't really know about it until maybe 14, 15 years ago, because a family member was neurodiverse, and I always just thought I was just a bit different to everyone else. I've had so much change in my life. I wasn't one of these kids who was jumping around and fidgeting all the time. I was quiet, I was reserved. I just used to draw for hours and be creative for hours. I used to love making homes out of my climbing frame and draping blankets and sheets and putting cushions inside and making it all cozy. It's funny, when you think about what you used to love doing as a child, it usually ends up being either a favourite hobby of yours or what you end up doing for work. So obviously I'm an interior designer now, and it's funny because it started right back from those days. And I think looking back to it, what I was doing was creating a sensory haven, a place to escape from all the sensory overload in our home, which was in the garden, in the home we lived in back then, years ago, making this cosy space for me that was no bright lights, there was no loud noises, lots of movement going on and people talking. And that was my way of giving myself what I needed. So all those years creating cosy spaces in my climbing frame, I didn't realise that, it's interesting, being a sensory focused designer and looking back now how it all started. I was creating spaces to self-regulate, to escape from sensory overwhelm and sensory overload from my home or from my school when I came back. And this is now what I do for clients. It's like a massive aha moment. I literally just realised this on the park bench, having the space to do that, just being in nature and seeing the dogs run around, feeling the breeze on my skin, looking at this beautiful blue sky, which we haven't had for a few days. And wow, what an amazing realisation. Yeah. Makes me feel quite emotional, actually. Things we do as a child to survive our environments, and what an impact it has when you're able to do that, and the joy or the peace that it gives to you, and then going on as an adult many years later to do that for parents, to help them create homes that support their families, especially neurodiverse families, because sensory friendly design is so impactful for them. Being late diagnosis for ADHD it's also made me realise that all those qualities that I had that were kind of, endearing as a younger woman, my scattiness, which made everyone laugh. I used to be called Scatty Nati. Nati's my nickname. I was always scatty, forgetting things, getting times mixed up, handing in projects late at college, always literally leaving things right to the last minute, because I was obviously craving that adrenaline rush that being on the edge of things always gives me. I remember once, years ago, I used to work as cabin crew for Emirates Airways. We used to get heavily discounted flights. So I used to come back to the UK or go on holiday occasionally with friends, and I was going back to see mum and dad. And obviously I was really excited to go see them just for 2-3 days in the UK, flying from Dubai. And I packed my bags, I got a couple of presents for mum and dad, and I get to the airport to check in, and they said, your flight was like 2 hours ago. I got the times completely mixed up. I was absolutely gutted. So then I had to wait, I had to go on standby and get the next flight that was available. But things like that, they were always happening. And it just makes me realise that was my ADHD. It just makes me understand everything about how I was. I don't have any feelings of anger or I was misunderstood. I just feel like there was so little awareness back in those days. How was anyone to know? You know, I just coped as best I could. I did my best with my timings and double-checked myself and triple-checked myself. Time blindness as well, being able to do things for hours and not realising the time or forgetting what the time was. That's been a huge part of my life. But now I've got my visual timer, which I use, and try my best to keep to it. It doesn't always work, but it helps a lot. And that's just been a recent acquisition. So things like that can be really helpful. Another thing I'm realizing about having ADHD is that because I have this deep burning desire to achieve things, to get my work and my message out there and help as many families as possible with creating sanctuaries, I'm just on a mission, and it can make me work for hours on end. I get up really early and I finish literally just before supper, and then sometimes I carry on afterwards. And it's made me aware that I have got a tendency to overdo things and then completely get overexhausted and sometimes overwhelmed. So I have to try and pace myself, knowing that with something like ADHD burnout, that's a very real possibility for someone like me. So yeah, all these little realizations are coming together, and knowing how to nurture myself as a mum, as a late diagnosed woman of ADHD, as someone who's got a business. Yeah, it's just learning all the time about how to cope better with life, how to make sure that I'm not overdoing it, how to support other families in nurturing themselves. So I hope this has been helpful. This has been my first unscripted video ever, so it was a bit nerve-wracking. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please subscribe. I'm really trying to grow the channel and look forward to seeing you on the next one.